Thanks so much for joining me. Irit Eizips here for CSM Practice. This channel, this podcast is all about tips on how to do customer success better. One of the things that we're expecting to improve is an increase in wallet share, how much our customers are spending with us. But what if at the same time we can reduce the number of support tickets? I have a very special guest today that's going to share his journey around harnessing the power of certification programs and automation and optimizing processes. He's going to walk through exactly what he's done to do just that, decreasing support tickets and increasing month-to-month revenues from the existing customer base. Kade Smith, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Irit. I'm happy to be here.
Kade is super talented. He's the Customer Success Enablement Specialist for a company called Zego. The way I got his introduction is through the Customer Success Excellence Awards. Great honor to have you here on the show, and congratulations for your nomination.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was an honor to be just shortlisted. I mean, even to be considered was huge.
Trust me, we had over 200 applicants. It's very respectful. And I can honestly say as a judge, it was very hard to pick a winner. Yeah, I can't wait to unfold why you got shortlisted. What was so phenomenal about your approach? And hopefully anybody that's listening today, you'll get a lot of tactical advice, and the approach is quite phenomenal. So maybe in like 20, 30 seconds, you can tell us a little bit about who are your clients, where are they located, how many CSMs you've got on the team.
So my clients are some of the largest property management companies in the United States and Canada. They range from everything from third-party operators to owner-operators who actually own their real estate, and they're coast to coast, all different sizes. I mainly deal more on the enterprise level. And then we've got 21 CSMs on our team in total. So we're a very active team. We are a high touch team as well. We seem to make it work. We're a scrappy team when it comes to the resources that we have. Just over the last year, we actually had 83% during the Great Resignation leave. And so we've had to train up an entirely new team over the last year. Been a complete rebuild of our customer success program.
That's quite significant. And recently, and this is the reason why you were submitting your nomination, the story you unfolded there, that was a very interesting strategic initiative that was taken on. Maybe you can give us a little bit of a background. What was happening at that time that led to that initiative? And at a high level, what was the initiative all about?
What was going on was we were seeing that our contract signers were excited about our app and taking it on, and they had a lot of great plans for it. They'd hand it off to their on-site teams, and the on-site teams were kind of like, we don't know what to do with this. So there was this large gap between how to use the app in the way that the corporate level wanted them to, and how it was actually going to be used on the ground. So I kind of took it upon myself to put together a plan of a 90-day on-ramp, would train them over those 90 days in 6 different feature sprints to get them to use mobile dormant in its full capacity. So when we started seeing that, we started seeing a correlation between the drive in adoption and utilization, and then also an increase in NRR. So it created this great synergy with getting more buy-in on the ground level, but also keeping our corporate level people happy. That's a high level overview of what we were able to do over the last little bit.
That's great. I have a lot of listeners that have the same issue. They have a great application. Management or the executive team decides that they're going to include that as part of their go-to-market strategy to enable that, to increase productivity or to achieve other goals. And then basically crickets, like the end user is not engaged. And so as a CSM, when you just go into that, that's a very scary moment. You did what you had to do. We'll go into that in more detail in a second here. After it was all said and done, you launched your initiative. It took on. What was some of the results that you've started seeing very quickly, and where are you at with it today?
One of the things was we wanted to make sure that they were hitting certain milestones over those 90 days. We wanted to see adoption hit at least 60% by the end of those 90 days. We've been able to achieve that, which has been fantastic. But we also have a 30, 60, 90 plan for when they finish the program as well. So that gets handed off to their permanent CSM so that they can continue that progress and see them continue to grow, so that we don't see any sort of fall off. They're continuing to be monitored. That's kind of been the biggest thing right now, is making sure that the adoption stays at a certain level.
Do you think that if you didn't implement or didn't change anything, because you obviously did, What would have been the impact on the business, on the clients, on the executives that made those decisions?
One of the things that we've seen a huge improvement in is support tickets. Huge reduction in support tickets where people know what their resources are and they're able to self-service a lot better. So I think that if we wouldn't have implemented this program, we'd be seeing a much larger influx of these support tickets coming in. And then we also probably would see more frustration from the ground level being filtered up to the executive level. And because we've been able to reduce that, our conversations with their executive teams are a lot calmer.
Do you think that there was something about the way you approached it that worked for your organization and your team and your culture?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing was when we're putting together a training plan for a specific client is we have the 3 features that we feel are the most important for using mobile doorman. Then we talk with their executive team saying, what 3 KPIs are you driving toward? And then we tailor the other 3 feature sprints to kind of gear toward that. So then the on-site team understands the expectations of their executive team right from the get-go. So I think that allows us to be more successful in the long run because we then don't have to do discovery calls and figuring out what's important to the executive team. We already know when we're in the onboarding stage.
Maybe we'll dive in and then we can talk about a little bit more about like the prep to get that done. But what exactly did you do to get these amazing results and this impact on your clients, on your company and your colleagues? What did it actually include?
First off, building out the content. I built out this training plan where I had to create all the decks and all the training materials and then doing a lot of testing. I actually took all of our CSMs through this training program as well, got the feedback, like, what are your clients wanting to see? It was a lot of trial and error. So when we got through that, our executive team has been incredibly supportive. They've felt like this is going to make a big impact on our long-term contracts. And we just felt like bridging this gap was the one thing that we were missing overall in our onboarding processes.
Okay, well, maybe we can double click on that because I have a few clients right now that are thinking, gosh, augment our training program for end users. And one of the top things in mind is like, what videos should we or content should we create immediately? And then what channel should we deliver it in? I guess you had to ask yourself the same question. So maybe we tackle the first one first. When you thought about topics to cover during the training, what were some of the considerations you had when you came up with that list?
The biggest one is we took a look at a lot of data. We took a look at what are the most used features, and that was what drove those top 3 features that we train on. So it was very data driven. We wanted to make sure that we had applicable trainings that could show an immediate impact on the client. So when we're training on messaging or we're training on work orders or whatever feature it is, there's homework associated with that. We make sure that they're doing an actual assignment so that they're able to see the immediate result and what that can do as far as like improving efficiencies and improving processes. So that was kind of the main consideration of we wanted to make it like digestible content that was quick, easy to get into, but it also had an immediate impact on the end user. So that was kind of where we formulated our content from.
Okay, so it sounds like you asked yourself, what are the most used features out of those? What would be the most impactful? And can we create it in a digestible manner?
Correct.
And you think about digestibility, honestly, what are you thinking there? Let's do it in a video. Let's do it short, lots of short ones. What were you thinking?
Yeah. What we found was because on-site property managers are so busy, they deal with everything. They've got people coming in all day complaining and they've got a lot of issues. They needed to be trainings that were short enough that they could attend it and still not worry about what's going on in the office. So we keep the training at about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we leave 10 minutes at the end for kind of a QA and a live working session. So if they do have any issues that they run into, they're able to have somebody live there with them. So that was kind of part of that trial and error. We tried longer trainings and we felt like the engagement fell off at about the 20 to 25 minute mark. So we were like, we've got to make these short bursts. That's why we call them feature sprints, because we wanted them to be quick and easy.
Creating a certification. Tell me about that.
We feel that our entire product suite could require a certification, and it's something that within the property management and prop tech area isn't unusual. A lot of different prop techs have their certification programs. We felt like mobile doorman was the first initiative that we should tackle. So building that out and making sure that there was the homework or assignments that were associated with it were, like I said, applicable and were easy to do. but also show that immediate impact. And then once they've completed all of those assignments and everything, we go through, we take a look at their proficiency, and we determine, like, have they gotten to the point where we could certify them as a power user? Once they're certified as a power user in our Salesforce database, we then mark them as that. And we use that also as a resource for contacting them about future feature releases and updates so that they're excited and that they can share that with their coworkers and also with the executives above them.
Brilliant. So the first training program that you created was for end users. Was it like for new end users?
Initially, yes. It's for net zero users, but we are working currently on a version of it that will be for people who have maybe fallen off or their utilization and adoption has dropped below a certain threshold. That's currently what I'm working on.
Once you are successful with something, there's definitely like a path of how do I leverage this? Because if the end users are taking to it, why not leverage the same path to do something else that can benefit themselves as well as us as a company? Right. So because it's for new end users, did you see an acceleration in the onboarding process?
Yes, actually. We saw that the adoption actually hit thresholds much quicker as we went through the training. So I think that originally when it was just kind of handed off to the end users, we'd see like an uptick over the course of 90 days of like they maybe hit 20, 25%. And then the CSM would go in with their quarterly business review, go over those numbers, and they're like, well, we want to be at 50%. And it was like they would then have to come up with the objectives and goals in order to reach that. When we've already got those in place, when we're in the onboarding stage, it makes the CSM's job so much easier down the line. It changed the game for our CSMs.
How did you share the training or the news about the training and get the end users become aware of the training? And what did you do if they haven't opted into it in a X period of days, I suppose?
Yeah. So with our implementation team, we have them actually present this idea of going through it. It's not required for every account to go through it. It's just offered. It's something where we don't feel that it's necessary for them to be successful with mobile dormant. It's just going to make it that much quicker for them to use. When somebody hasn't responded or anything, when we're trying to target them, this is currently what we're working on as far as like those current users who have dropped below a certain threshold. We have Pendo banners in our platform that'll pop up saying we've got a certification program now. And right now we're working on that to be more general rather than the focused 3 KPIs and the 3 top features. It's just 6 trainings that we feel every mobile dormant user should use. So it'll be more white labeled for just every user rather than targeted toward a specific client. So anybody can go through the certification program once we've rolled it out. But right now we're targeting specific clients that have dropped below the threshold.
Okay, so it sounds like for onboarding, you have an implementation team that suggests that maybe during kickoff, maybe they'll be sent an email too if they haven't opted into it. Certainly within the app, there's suggestions to take the training class and take the certification.
Correct.
Where do you host the training? Is it a bunch of videos or you said something about homework?
I use GoToWebinar and we just host them there. They are recorded so that people who maybe have signed up for it but weren't able to attend, we do forward it on to them so that they can watch back. Unfortunately, that doesn't allow them to have the live Q&A or the live working session. So we do highly encourage that they are on to be able to interact with us. But we want to make sure that even if they aren't able to attend, they're still getting the content. Eventually, the goal is to get the content fully recorded and have an automated program where anybody can go through it and they just have to do the homework. We're working on a program to be able to audit their homework. So the homework is basically just given at the end of the training where it's like, go send a scheduled message and include this specific content or get creative and do something that's specific for your community. But once that's done, I'm able to go in on the back end and audit who's done what.
So that sounds like each session is a live session that has a Q&A at the end of which when your clients or the end users are actually asking questions, are they just typing it in or is there like a complete dialogue?
No, there's a complete dialogue. I can unmute everybody and we can have a live discussion. And it's usually interesting because every property is so different. So they start to kind of feed off of each other's energy and kind of spinning ideas and like, what about this? What about that? And it is interesting as somebody who's kind of extracting this stuff to be able to take it back and say, this property is using it in a very interesting way. Maybe we could implement this into our best practices because they're seeing a high engagement rate or something along those lines. But it does create an interesting energy when they're able to speak live rather than just typing in their questions.
Do you think that anybody that's currently listening to this and is struggling in getting end users to adopt the solution, but the solution is good. It's mature. It's just a matter of maybe training. Do you recommend that format to literally start with live training with Q&A and some homework at the end and see what happens? Almost like launching a live academy for customers.
Yeah, I mean, I've never built out a certification program before, so this is the only way I know. But I know that when I've gone through other training programs, when I was at Apple, I went through, certifications as well, and it was live trainings. And so I felt like what I learned there was applicable here, and the format was great. And I always appreciated that I had a live trainer. So I just kind of ran with what I knew.
And it's an easy start. I think doing it live just gives you a sense of what works and what doesn't, and allows you to change the content. And it sounds like once you feel very comfortable with it, you are examining the possibility of maybe switching it over to an LMS program, like an application that gives you a little bit more data around who self-served this training to themselves. Did they complete it? Did they do the homework? That's in and of itself is an effort, but maybe more like phase 2 type of an effort.
Absolutely. I think that, once we've perfected it, we feel like getting it into the automated area is going to be really, really beneficial just because we can then bring that many more people through the certification. When it's live, I like to keep the classes smaller to around like maybe 20 to 30 people. That to me is kind of my max. I'm like any more than that, and then everybody's talking over top of each other. But if we've got it automated where they can do it just on their own and they feel comfortable with that, we are definitely open to having a dialogue or a live training. We'd never say no if somebody wants a refresher or a live training, but we're eventually going to get to that phase 2 area where it's automated.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to clarify. Stage number 1 is create a live training, kind of like an academy with multiple sessions that runs in sequence with some homework. Make it a certification if it makes sense for your industry. If it's like with 2 accountants, they're used to having a certification, maybe realtor used to have certifications. If it's not common, maybe check the pulse on that. Was there any other investments that you guys have made besides the live training in order to get to the results that you've gotten? And it sounds like the number of end users engaged in the solution and the number of those that actually opted into your payment processing services, which we haven't talked about that. Like the whole deal was if they're engaged with our application, the executive's aptitude to then opt into a much larger package and spend more with you has increased tremendously. That was the idea, and it actually proved to be the case. So there was like a huge ROI in that.
Yeah, I mean, when we took a look at this, mobile dormant is our sticky product. If we can get people engaged and adopted onto this, our payment solution integrates seamlessly with it, where it just makes sense to where if you're going on there to submit your work orders or message your leasing office, why not pay your rent through the same app? When we get them fully engaged on mobile dormant, it makes it that much easier for us to land and expand with our sales team, where they go in and they say, we're seeing high adoption rates. Why not just make this part of your package? It'll ultimately we take away the cost of the mobile dormant app when we offer it for free, but then they just go into regular ACH and payment processing pricing. So it's something where we have been able to expand the business by getting people through this program. I'm just excited for what we have coming down the line.
Yeah, because literally you can create an alert, like a call to action or a lead in the CRM system anytime an account has reached above 50% of utilization active seats versus licensed seats.
Exactly. So we're able to see exactly how many residents are engaged, what their adoption utilization is. And once we hit a certain threshold, it's kind of like, can we go any higher, or does it just make sense to expand what products you're using?
It's an easy conversation after that.
Exactly.
Because the ROI is there and it's very natural. So it's just a matter of almost like maximizing value for the property management versus trying to get them to do something that's way too early for them.
Absolutely. And you're consolidating the number of apps that maybe they're going through. So like I said, less clicks, the better off.
Okay, brilliant. I love this. Like, what a great initiative. What awesome results. Amplified everything, the way the business is run within your company. What kind of in-app solution did you use in order to create awareness to the training?
We use Pendo within our platform, and that's kind of our main avenue. We use Marketo as well when we were doing email blasts. So that has helped as well to maybe see like the engagement when we sent it out to see if there was interest or any sort of clicks on the emails that we drafted up. But we already had kind of a built-in marketing channel for this. So we turned to the CSMs ultimately and said, what clients would you like to see go through this? What clients do you think need the help? So that's kind of been our next area that we've been focusing on. When we don't focus on those net zero clients that are just starting, we're focusing on clients that maybe need that little bit of extra help. We've turned to our CSMs to have their ear to the ground as far as the health check on their clients.
Who do you think in an organization, if anybody's listening here and say, yep, I have this issue, we don't have enough end users engaged, we would love to do a land and expand and reach like over 50% utilization rate for all of our accounts. Who should be the owner of such an initiative? How should they get started?
It comes down to a very specific person. I mean, I was told that when I went to my leadership about this initiative and wanting to get it done, they're like, we can't see anybody else heading this up. You're very passionate about the product. So I would find somebody who's passionate about the product, passionate about their clients, is very analytical, able to kind of take a problem, break it down into those little itty bitty steps, and is able to be self-motivated. Nobody's lighting a fire under me. It's just, I wanted to do this. So they gave me the bandwidth to be able to. Basically,
so if anybody's listening here, they have fire under the bed, like, yes, I think I can do that, or I'd like to try. Give your CEO the link to this video so that they know why, and just go say, hey, I'd like to do it. I'd like to lead that. It doesn't take that much, right?
No, I mean, we started fully planning and executing the build out end of February of this year. So it's kind of been a quick rollout where we've been able to gather enough data to say that it's successful so far. It was pretty quick because I already had it in my head built out. I already kind of had those steps already down on paper when I presented it.
And like initial indicators that it's successful, just for those who kind of curious, how do I prove the value of this program, is do people opt into it? I think that's kind of like number one. Are they even engaged? Is there even an interest about the idea? And then maybe take a look at how many actually go through and like follow through to the entire, until the end of the program. This way, if you got the right sessions, otherwise you tweak the content. And then look at lagging indicators. Are we increasing the number of active end users? In your case, it's the residents. Are we getting an increase in interest in expansion of services? Did you look at anything else?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It was initial interest, and then it was how many enrollees we had, and then how many actually completed it to a certification level. And then, like I said, the 30, 60, 90 plan following that is what indicates, was it successful, because we were able to continue those trends after they finished the program with me.
As you were going through this, did you listen to like any podcasts, YouTube recordings, write a book about anything to get you inspired to do this right?
I listened to Success Hacker. I listened to Aaron Thompson, Christy Falterusso. I look at a lot of the people on LinkedIn, and I look at their advice. I look at what they put out there about customer success and engaging their clients, and looking at their advice helped me to, one, be motivated to like make a change. Like, they are always coming up with these new initiatives, and that's amazing. I took a look at different platforms that do have like a live academy, and I kind of dig into there and kind of see what they were doing. That was one of the things that helped me kind of formulate how we were going to do this, on top of, my experience at Apple. It was a combination of all those things, personal influences, as well as, looking at what other companies are doing as well.
Well, congratulations. What an achievement. I love interviewing people like you because you stepped up to the plate. You have your own day job, and then you have a eureka moment, and you just step up for the company, for your team, for your clients. Brilliant. Love it. All right, everyone, if you love this interview, give it a like. Give him lots of love on the comments below. And that's it. It's a wrap for today. I'll see you at the next video.